So this is George Lees speaking again in Coldstream. The title of today's video is The Mystery of Hitler's Niece's Death that nearly drove him to suicide, Hitler, Rise and Fall, and I hope to shame the news reporters in Britain that are all related to these sad people. Yeah, that is the Rothschild family that sired Alois Rothschild, that was out of the lineages that both were in London and Vienna. Yeah, and there is Hitler, and that is his lover and his niece. Yeah, and the story here is that she died suddenly, and that is the death of the woman that he was the lover of as her uncle. Yeah, so let's just listen to, we should really get the credits for the person who's released this into the news, but there's more and more of it, and she is Geli Rabal in the middle. That is, in Hollywood, the joke that the Warner Brothers have created a Star Wars community, and that is Betty Grable. All of them are on George Bush's bloodline tree, and other aristocratic families like Kelly Clarkson's in America. Yeah, it's all the diaspora across the world in wartime so that you can have your plants for the Fourth Reich in the Americas, yeah, before the Bushes get there. Yeah, that's Betty Grable, and all the jokes about her shins are the taking over of the whole world as a mafia operation by the Commonwealth fleecing countries. Yeah, all of it is not an accident or just an incident of the moment. All of it has been planned for thousands of years by the Templar families and the black nobility that now control the whole of the world. Their name is Trump, Rockefeller, Trump Heller. They are Heinz, they are all of the Forbes rich listers, they are Chancellor Kohl, they are the actresses in Hollywood that are the Pfeiffers, and all the PF families, and they are the Scottish people that are the ancestors of Donald Trump, like the Mackays, and all of them have to be covered up by stories like this, or comedies like the Mackay, the Jailer comedy, or Local Hero in Scotland. Yeah, all of it is a massive pistic, so let's listen to the sad bit, and I can never tell whether any of it is true, other than the fact that the Rothschilds sire everybody so that they can have their way tactically, and they can bankrupt every nation on the globe with every war that they launch. All of it run through the Freemasonic Lodge, and that is the massive joke that every lodge in the big cities, the P2 lodges, are actually Freemasonic lodges. Every bank, that's the P2 banks, are, and that's named after Piso. Okay, so let's just listen, and then we'll embarrass the ancient now BBC commentators that have all been taken off the air because they're all in the same family trees. Yeah, that's John Humphreys. That is the Masonic name that is Montagu, and that is Sarah Montagu at the BBC, even although she was only born in 1966 when England won the World Cup. She is a Montagu bloodline. That is the chief master masons and the people that run the banks in fucking London. Yeah, and she's a beautiful woman. She's married into the baronetcy, and I've only discovered that she was born on the Channel Islands, where the Nazis were the holders of it, as we got into the final year of the war. That is all the laundering and all the insider dealing, and it turns out that John Humphreys is a massive scamster. He earns £600,000 a year to be a liar in the BBC team, and poor Ms Montagu, she only earns 130,000, and there's a massive ruckus about that, but not because they're in the families that created all of the misery for the entire world. And as usual, the Rothschilds are not in the story. Geli Rabal is the Betty Grable joke.
Lived in his Munich apartment and routinely... September 1931. Adolf Hitler's most important relationship was with a woman who lived in his Munich apartment and routinely appeared with him in public. His 23-year-old niece, Geli Raubal. Hitler used Geli.
There's her shins. That is the shin and the mafia attempt to take over the world. It's now nearly complete, thanks to the stupid bastard that is Donald Trump. He's now demonising everything that he did yesterday, which is the killing of the alleged terrorists in the Middle East. Yeah, that is the Islamic menace, and I believe that he also killed 3 of that man's sons. All of them are just actors. Yeah, it's exactly the same with the Bin Laden murders. Bin Laden went to the same school as the European aristocracy in Lake Geneva in Switzerland, La Rosie. Yeah, and you can see that the more mysterious the conspiracy is, the more the BBC and the powers that be need to be deceitful to their customers. Yeah, and Humphreys is particularly agile. All of them have been taken out of the team now since I stopped listening to it in the mornings. Even when I was in New Zealand, I used to listen to Sarah Montagu. Yeah, beautiful woman, but fuck knows what is in their hearts and minds. All of it is the takeover of the world, and you'll see their discussions with their colleagues in America. They are called Sopel in America. That is the White House correspondent for the BBC in America, and he has the word Piso in his name. Yeah, and he has eyes like the owls that are the jokes about the all-seeing eyes and the massive orgies that the families engage in, and then they murder a few women. Yeah, or a few Jews, or whatever they think is right in the end. All of it driven by alcohol, and the same families live forever, and that is Martin Bormann and his appearance immediately after they had fled from Germany. He began to appear in the pictures of the American government that were about the plot to kill JFK, and all of them are pictured together, and I could show you that if we've got sufficient time at the end. But let's get what happened to Geli, yeah, and what Hitler was alleged to have done. Everybody that he dated suicided. And remember that he has dozens of body doubles, maybe even hundreds. One of them is called Shrek, and that is the name of the cartoon character that bemused me for so long in my life, and Shrek was his chauffeur. Sorry, we've not got any soundtrack or anything happening now.
September 1931. Adolf Hitler's most important relationship was with a woman who lived in his Munich apartment and routinely appeared with him in public. his 23-year-old niece, Geli Raubal. Hitler used Geli to promote his image as a wholesome family man. But speculation mounted over the exact nature of their relationship.
His niece Geli is described as this wonderful, beautiful girl, and he's obviously attracted to her. He has her around all the time. Whether he was attracted to her sexually, we don't know.
Lovers or not, Hitler was the dominant figure in Geli's life.
Hitler.
So that blonde correspondent is an articulate scientist, and she lives in America now, and her name is exactly the same as one of the Hollywood offshoots, that is Burbank. You'll have to look her up.
Hitler wants to control her life. He should be the
I'll give the details in the thumbnail for the video.
Only man in her life. And when he finds out that she has an affair with his chauffeur Maurice, he is devastated and upset. He is terribly jealous.
There's this chilling sentence that Geli Raubal says to her friends. My uncle is a monster.
And that one is a lookalike, yeah, regardless of the age difference, for the one that was my favourite on Radio 4 every morning. Sorry, my camera focus device is not working. So that's why all the images are blurred. This one's Emma Craigie, author, Hitler's Last Day. Yeah, exactly the same structure on the face as Sarah Montagu. Yeah, and she's not a Montagu, she's married to an aristocrat that is on Burke's peerage, and I did not know that till this morning. Right then, we'll just have to live with the blur. Makes them look quite evil, really, doesn't it? Sarah.
Nobody understands what he demands of me.
Rumours began swirling in the press that Hitler was keeping Geli a virtual prisoner in his apartment.
She is by now in love with a young man in Vienna. So she wants to go to Vienna, he won't let her.
On the 18th of September, neighbours overheard a fight between Hitler and his niece. Later that day, Hitler left Munich and headed for Nuremberg.
The next day she is found dead. It was his revolver. Did he shoot her? There are lots of witnesses who said he wasn't there that night. So we don't know whether he shot her, she shot herself, or a third party shot her. That is the great mystery to this day. It was his revolver. Did he shoot her? There are lots of witnesses who said he wasn't there that night. So we don't know whether he shot her, she shot herself, or a third party shot her. That is the great mystery to this day.
Whether suicide or murder, Geli's death pushed Hitler towards a breakdown.
He misses her funeral and takes himself off to be on his own by a lake. There are rumours and certainly fears amongst those close to him that he's contemplating suicide, that this is a loss which he can't cope with.
And Sarah has a magnificent Habsburg chin, just like that commentator.
And things soon went from bad to worse. The press unearthed another scandal involving a former lover. 5 years earlier, 16-year-old Mimi Reiter attempted suicide. There was also speculation about Hitler's association with a known homosexual, Ernst Röhm, head of the Nazis' SA paramilitary force.
There are some extraordinary headlines in the press that most political leaders could never recover from. Hitler's lover commits suicide. Nazi leaders are bachelors and homosexuals.
So, that's the end of the story. And let's now look at the little tiffs that the BBC are having. They've completely changed the presenters. I believe one of...
Adolf Hitler is the very personification of evil.
Hitler is the most
Yeah, let's just get rid of that and let's move along the row. There are the BBC Radio 4 Today presenters. Justin Webb, all of them new, because all of them, except Nick Robinson. Yeah, that is Martha Kearney, Michal Hussein and Justin Webb. I used to listen to them every morning, even when I was living in my house in Kelso, and that kept me in touch with the English news, and I used to listen to Rupert Murdoch's Fox News mongers in America that are called the Five. That, for a laugh, are the five mafia families. So Sarah Montagu is no longer in the spotlight in the morning. Nick Robinson used to present the news of an evening, and he has replaced her. And the other people have replaced several other names, and it's such a long time since I listened to them. I'm not going to try and find them out again. Here's the pay gap scandal, because all of them know, because they can read the future, that I'm going to make this video today. Yeah, it's on the Independence page, but I'll try not to show you that. Register for free today, isn't it lovely? The free press. So explaining the gender pay gap, the woman that is Sarah Montagu, she's fucked off now because she's in the limelight, and I believe she's related because of those facial structures to the characters that are in the Third Reich, in the enemy side. Yeah, and there are all the icons. 50 is Piso code, it means none, and that is escapees from the death camps. Yeah, the mean gender pay gap adds up every man's pay and divides it by the number of men. So the man that is on the world-owning bloodline tree, that is Sarah Montagu's colleague, he earns £600,000 a year to be a liar, yeah, behind the microphone. Remember, Radio 4 is not glamorous televisuals, it's only on the radio. And that's why it's being replaced all across the globe. Yeah, instead of serious commentaries, all we get now is the likes of Radio Borders and the manic presenters that have been in charge even of Radio 2 since Terry Wogan passed on for his Eurovision jokes. Right then. Yeah, and that's adding up the women's pay. It's going to take ages for this to play through. The gender pay graph is different. Concept to equal pay. And they've got adverts all around it, so I cannot publish it. Yeah, the Independent has got the eagle from Rome as its icon. Yeah, and we've got no sound, no pictures, and just there is the man that is the terrorist who, the that man now, yesterday, was demonizing him. That's Abu Kabar al-Baghdadi, killed in the US raid. Yeah, and he's calling him, he was screaming and shouting like a girl. The leader in America actually assassinated the 3 children, I'm led to believe, based on the radio, the BBC output that I saw last night, and reading the subtitles. I could not have the soundtrack on. He's an absolute buffoon, and he's quite happy with the concept of a World War III, and all the fake terror is to keep all of you terrified right through his regime. He's only 6 months away now from his next election, which is why he's demonizing someone else thousands of miles from home in the countries where he has and his predecessors have completely stolen the entire oil wealth of those countries. Yet that is Iraq, Afghanistan, and the Middle East, where all of the federal banks now belong to an English-speaking family which is called Rothschild. And there is Sarah. She's a lovely person, and she has been an articulate presenter with them since I worked with Commoner Kate's mother at Thames Polytechnic. And there is John Humphreys of de Umfreville in the Borders, just over the Cheviot Hills. That is the world-owning family tree. Yeah, which is why he earns £600,000 a year. She only gets 130,000. So she's sulking a bit. And there is her beautiful Habsburg chin. Let's get on and find out who she's wedded to on Burke's peerage. John Humphreys confessed to co-host Sarah Montagu, earning £500,000 more than her per annum. That he was earning 5 times as much as her before BBC pay gap was revealed. And if you play those videos, it's him chatting to all of his allies all over the world, all of whom tell lies every morning. That is Sopel in the White House, Catty Kay, and all of the people all over the globe that are named after the Bible author Arius Piso, who's on their bloodline too. Yeah, and that is the Montagues that you'll see in a few moments that run the Freemasons and the Masonic lodges that are the banks in fucking London. Yeah, let's see a little bit of the details of exactly how much they earn. Confessed to his Today Show co-host Sarah Montagu that he was earning, this is dated 26th of October 2019. You can see how quickly they have gotten them out of the pictures of the presenters on the programme. Yeah, so that is to his Today Show co-host Sarah Montagu that he was earning 5 times as much as her before the BBC pay gap was revealed. Yet this is the same in trivial radio. That is the richest man in that world was the one that has got the church word in its name. He's he took over when Terry Wogan died. Oh, we've got an emergency situation again. "2,000-year-old police mafia." Yeah, so when the BBC's gender pay gap was revealed in July, remember that those police that have just passed by are paid, yeah, and scammed by Clifford Chance, the company that is based in fucking Italy, where the mafia come from. Okay? When the BBC gender's pay gap was revealed in July 2017, Ms Montagu learned that she was the only Radio 4 Today programme presenter who was earning less than £150,000. Yeah, that's half as much as the parliamentarians get. Half as much again as the parliamentarians get not to attend their place of work. While she was paid £133,000 for presenting Today, other Radio 4 work and her hard talk television interviews, her colleague John Humphreys, the veteran Today presenter and mastermind host, was earning between £600,000 and £649,999, which used to be the call-out number for the British police, until I described that as the road to Hitler's nest in Bavaria, where Hitler used to live with Gelli. The road to his house was Autoroute 999. Hitler's lodge is Grand Lodge 99. All of it is the mafia that have run the world forever. Right then, let's give you a few pictures. She's lovely, isn't she? Yeah, born in 66. And there's the Habsburg chin and lip. John Humphreys told me that what he was paid before the reveal, long before she said, my issue was less with John Humphreys than with other people who were used much less than me. Remember that Lord Patton, the man that scammed the whole world by taking Aung San Suu Kyi into the Parliament building and allowing her to make speeches in the House of Commons and the House of Lords. That is the cover-up by the most sophisticated countries in the world of the Sanssouci families that were the Hanoverian family that eventually went into the Middle East, into the eastern provinces of Asia, and that is where Lord Patton brought her back from. She's actually Burmese, and that is the launch of a fake politician into the mind's eye of all the readers and listeners to these false newsmongers. Yeah, and Humphreys used to actually reply to me when I sent my emails to him. Yeah, he had no time for the concept of his church roof was falling off. And he needed to get a victim for that. He thought it was, I forget what you call the hooligans that leave the icons on the wall, but all of them are mafia operatives, and the same is true for Sally Magnuson, whose dad presented the quiz programme before Humphreys, after Humphreys had taken over. Humphreys came after Sally Magnuson's dad. Yeah, and she's the Magnus bloodlines of Denmark. And it's fabulous, and that is the Belbo lineages that take you into Bobby in Still Game. So these are really serious people in comparison to the other aristocrats, Sally, songs of praise for 30 years when Jesus never lived. Yeah, and all of your jokes about the Piso family who wrote him up. That is the pistake that her book was going to be called before I started my career in false religion. And that is the utility of urine as a means of cleaning clothes. That was the title for Sally's book. She's not had the courage to publish it. Since her rival author in that sector wrote the novel God Was Not Great, he died the following month. And she's lovely, and you can tell that. Yeah, born in 66 when we were capable of beating the shit out of Germany in the World Cup final. And there is Humphreys, more concerned about his church roof than anything that was happening. His wife is a massive magnate. She's a baroness too. Hi, I'm Sarah Montagu. I've had a bit of a pay issue at the BBC. She added that the joy for her was that she felt like she had another 50 women. 50 means none. She knows that because all of them are plants by the Piso family that have run the world since they launched them into the back room in Naples, where the Bible was written, and in Rome, where Telly Savalas's alter ego characters went to help with the writing of the Bible. That is the character that he plays. It is oh God. We'd have to look on the world-owning family tree that has Montagu on it. Let me show you that. So Bush, Windsor, Rockefeller, Bush, Windsor, Piso family tree. There it is. So the D'Amfrevilles are of the Scottish-English border. And there are the English kings and queens who are doing okay, and their warmongering profiteers who also are legends in Hollywood. And there is Bush and Blair, the serial killers in Iraq, for the oil wealth that they were gloating at the execution of its previous owner in his own land. Yeah, if any of that story is true, remember that much of the training for the ISIS families, yeah, is done in Great Britain. And all of that is told in my videos on the, even Aberdeen has hundreds of companies that have got the ISIS word in it. Yeah, and there is Hitler on the family tree. Yeah, even although he's a bastard. Yeah, there's Cleopatra. She's related to Henry VIII too. And there is all of the folk that got Hitler out of the bunker. And the stammering king, Bose Lion, yeah, is not actually the real one. That is his wife, fled to Denmark too, and was replaced by the whipping boy from downstairs. And you're not allowed to do anything without intervention from Intel, which is now called Internet Access and Virus. Right then, let's get the bloodline tree. Oh no, it's not, it's just got a hyperlink for it. Oh, stupid person. Sorry, they are absolutely buffoonish, and they'll get what they deserve in the end. Yeah, because the gods. Yeah. So I'm not allowed to tell you anything about the BBC because they've just launched a virus into my computer. So the video is more or less wrecked now. Right then, the bloodline tree for that lot. Piso, No, let's try going back. We might get it quicker. Piso, Windsor. So Bush is 5 cousins removed from Queen Victoria and from the Bradfords of the Mayflower that allowed the English white man and the European nations to completely massacre the American Indians. That's native sons in America, yeah, absolutely massacred by the cavalry and the Calvary Hill replacement that is Jesus. Piso, Windsor, Bush, bloodline. And this time we'll put David Icke in, because that is the Davidic diaspora for a laugh. Okay, there's the bloodline. This time it's not pictures, but let's look up Humphreys and all the sad bastards. Magnuson actually only has, and it's Magnus in the entry on the bloodline. But there are the Egyptian pharaohs. That's Suter in Rabsi Nisbet. Jamesy, do you remember him? And there is Alexander the Great and the Macedonian entrance. Yeah, that is them discussing Alexander the Great being in the tank in the pyramid when Julius Caesar is chatting up Cleopatra. Right then, down we go. And let me find you. There's Aristobulus, yeah, and the aristocratic launch. There's King Herod. That is the person I could not remember. He's in the Piso team when they write the Bible. He's actually in Rome, out of Syria, when they started writing the Bible. And he, Telly Savalas, the actor who played him and condemned Jesus to death, he is the godfather of Jennifer Aniston, who's on the front page of the papers nearly every day since I told the world that she's on this bloodline too. Yeah, that is Ariston, but she's not on the bloodline because that is just one of Arius Piso's nicknames. There are the Pisos that launch hundreds of nicknames into the Bible and into their historic archive, all of which is faked up. Yeah, like Rupert Murdoch's too. Yeah, there is Gaius Calpurnius Piso, that is Arius Piso's dad, and there is Arius Antoninus Calpurnius Piso, named Josephus, and that is Joseph in the stable with the Virgin. Bo Iona, that is the naming of Iona and the cathedral in Gleski, just off the coast, Procilla Servilia, and that is the Queen of England's nickname, that is Lisbeth Bono Iona. Yeah, and we are not allowed to make videos in private anymore. Right then, so let's look for Humphreys, the sad bastard. And there's Marcus Aurelius and the Faust families of the female bloodline for Marcus Aurelius. That is the Chancellor of the university that is Harvard, and all the wars that they engineer. Harvard was in business 30 years after the Pilgrim Fathers landed on the rock at Plymouth, off Plymouth and onto the Plymouth Rock in America. There is Commodus, yeah, and the son of Marcus Aurelius, and his name has been demonized this week because the actor is all over the stories that are obfuscating the truth that they are trying to use Jennifer Aniston for. There is Rabsy Nisbet's friend from London, that is Phoebe. She visits Rabsy every Christmas. It's absolute. So that is Pompeia, Plotina, Claudia, Phoebe, Pisa. Right? Oh. Right then. And there is Lyson from the Forbes rich list in fucking Russia, where they have a different church to us. Yeah, and they're communists, you see. But that is Lyson on the Forbes rich list. Licinia Anus, married concubine. And there is Childeric and all the families that are the hobbits and the tiny dynasty that are less than 5 foot tall, right through it. Evo Child, Clotilde, and that is the naming of Rothschild in the end. Okay, and down we go. There's Dagobert and the Robertian lineage that is the launch of that evil woman in the eyes of the gods that create the weather, that is Julia Roberts. I'd love to have a chat to her, but I need to take an umbrella with me. Dagobert II, and that is the naming of the man who was the Indian that made the movie, Anthony Hopkins, the fastest Indian. Yeah, they were all killed by the white man, and when he used to try and beat the speed record, all of the American supporters on the plains that the gods had created as a barren place, the crowd used to shout to him, "Go Bert," just because he's on the tree. And that's Waltzing Matilda for the Irish band that are laughing at the killing of their own kin in the great battles in the Crimea. Yeah, that is them laughing at the losing of your legs and how simple it is and how disastrous it is to go back to your wife with nothing to stand on. Yeah, and there's Dagobert to Sigisbert, that's Robertians. Yeah, and that is Magdala, Sigisbert, and you can see that they have lived a lot longer than, and that is why every time you make a video on it, the clouds come over, because that is serial killing in the name of Jesus all across Europe. Yeah, and there is Hilderic, Sigisbert, Prince Ursus, married Rotilde, Hannah Mary. Sigisbert VI, Prince Ursus, that means bear. That is Bearn, where the story started. Guillaume II, that's William the Conqueror, who they called the Undertaker, because he would not let any of the Anglo-Saxons live. If a boy got to the age of 8, when they might be making their own sperm, then he actually had them executed. That is total war, and that's why they called him the Undertaker. Sorry, it's taken a long time. There's Arnie Scwarzeneger now. Yeah, and that's the man that is in the Star Wars team, and he is actually the voice for Obi-Wan Kenobi, or whatever you called the character, that said, "May the Force be with you." And La Force is the name of the family that are in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance movie, and he's the detective that will not stop, and will not give up before he arrests them and has them shot down. That is the La Force family of Italy. There's Hughes, that used to play on the wing for Celtic, and there's Eustace, that used to own Hannah Mary Rothschild's mansion in Tring, where I used to live happily with my life. my wife, before I started reporting the war crimes of Rothschild. And there is the Louvains, that are the Alpine families, and there is Eustace II of Boulogne. Yeah, and I think there's a Boulogne in France and in Italy, and that is the oldest university in world history. And the links to Oxford and Cambridge are absolutely massive, which is why they were immune from bombing in World War II. There's the Baldwins of Hollywood, who actually rang Donald to tell him that he was not a nice guy second day after the election. And all of the families that are on this tree, like Nero, Robert De Niro, actually rang Donald too. Yeah, there is Fulk, that is the Incredible Hulk of Anjou in either France or Germany, and there are the Plantagenets, and another Matilda, and there is Henry II, that is in the Lion in Winter movie, and there is his lover, Alex de Porowet, and there's Eleanor of Aquitaine, who told King Henry II that his dad actually made love to her, and he was better at that than Henry II. And let's find Humphreys as we promised. Okay, there's Eleanor of Provence, and there is Longshanks. Edward I married first Margaret of France, and then second Eleanor of Castile. All of them victims of the Salic laws in France that meant that a woman could not be king in France itself because of those Salic laws. So if you wanted to be on a throne anywhere in the world, you had to leave France and go to somewhere where it was possible. And there's sectarian Ireland. Fergus, Lord of Galloway, Edward II, the gay boy, Utrecht of Galloway, and now we should be looking for the Umfravilles. Galloway, De Quincey, Alexander Comyn. I've met the Comyns all over the world, and they are one of the most friendly political families that ever lived, and many of them died because of that, and that is the killing by Robert the Bruce, of the Comyn bloodline heads. Second Earl of Buchan, Robert de Umfraville, John Humphreys, Gilbert de Umfraville, and they are just over the Cheviot Hills in the top of the English nation. Elizabeth de Umfraville married Gilbert de Borodin, and that is the launch of the composer, and all the massive videos that they have made, and the songs about the Russian steppes are absolutely impressive, but all of it is the cover for the richest families in world history. So 3 de Umfravilles, one of them lucky enough to be married into that common family. And there is the Tallboys, Luttrell, Cokefield, Godfrey Hilton, and we're getting now very close to the American presidents. There's William Booth, who was with Commoner Kate's mother at Thames Poly. That is the Booth lineage that studied with me and the Bermudez families from Argentina. All of them have been following me around the world, keeping an eye on what happens so that Commoner Kate can waltz onto the throne, out of Killing Kittens, where she was a prostitute, and that is where both her dad and Prince Philip used to attend the Killing Kittens brothel. And they took Prince William there when they needed to get married in a hurry. When they killed Greg Hallett. So there is the Hambys and the Blewitts that are in the Dad's Army comedy, and that is the Ugly Sisters jokes for the banks in London. That is the Ugly Lodge. There's the Hutchisons that were my neighbours, the Hawkins of Field McConnell's organisation, and that is why all of those people have to be launched into the social media somewhere. There's the Rux, that was the man that was the wrestler in the Auf Wiedersehen team, 2 generations of them. Ruck, yeah, Lydia Foster, Nathaniel Robbins, that is the actors in Hollywood. And there are now Delano, Warren Delano Jr. is the father of Sarah Delano, and that is married to James Roosevelt, and there is Franklin D. and Anna Eleanor. We did not see Magnus. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, that's the quizmaster for the BBC, like fucking Humphreys. £600,000 a year, every year, for being an old twat. Poor Sarah. Yeah, and there are the Roman emperors from whom they are descended. Yeah, Rab C. Nisbet's Christmas special. And there is Cleopatra. And up there again, we'll find King Herod. Where is he? And there's Ptolemy, and that is the families that then take over the whole of North Africa, and they become Billy Bass and the comedians that are descended from Arius Piso too. Ptolemy is a nickname for Piso, and those are the newsmen that went all around the world writing their stories and making the Piso family relatively anonymous. They are the world's biggest killers, and it is the naming of everybody that is newsmongers all around the world. Suetonius, who's not on this tree, is Obama's name. He was born on the island that is Pearl Harbor's place, and all of them are born to kill. Except the wrestlers in the Auf Wiedersehen team who are already dead. Yeah, and there is Sigismund for Rupert Murdoch's family. Sigmund Freud and all of the serial killers in the NHS mental health stories. Right, I think we'll go back now to the scandal at the BBC. And Hitler's lovers. So where did we get to? There's Sarah Montagu. Lovely person. Much, much younger than my ex-wife. And you should see the stories about what they have done for a living as the baronet families, yeah, based on the fucking Channel Islands. Right then, so John Humphreys confessed to co-host Sarah Montagu that he was earning 5 times as much as her before BBC pay gap was revealed. And there's the Premier Grand Lodge of England, and let me show you why Sarah's really gifted, because she should be blushing a bit, because she is the ancestor of the Chief Master Masons that launched all of the wars in all of the Masonic countries that are secret societies. There we are, the Premier Grand Lodge of England. And that was founded coincidentally with the takeover by the Nazis of the United Kingdom and the massive Orange Lodge massacres that preceded that, and that was the launch of the Bank of England, and every bank in London is a Freemasonic lodge. Do you understand that? Yeah, the Premier Grand Lodge of England. Let me get you a listing of the chief Master Masons. So 1714 was the year that George I came out of Germany to take over the United Kingdom, after all of the Catholic claimants had been executed or cast into exile. And I'm not defending the Catholics. I've now become a pagan. That is the Catholics that are the richest families in the world. That is the lethal Pope Pius XII. And that is the families that had the canaries on their shoulders because they were laundering the Nazis into all of the formerly pagan countries that are Latin America, North America, Canada, and even Iceland. Yeah, let me show you where the Montagues are on the listings. Here we go. Grand Masters, Sire des Gilliers, Payne, and there we have in 1721 to 1723, John Montagu, 2nd Duke of Montagu. There is Charles Lennox, Duke of Richmond. Yeah. There is Lord Coleraine, for troubled Ireland ever since. There's the Dukes of Norfolk, Earl of Strathmore, Earl of Crawford, Earl of Loudon, Earl of Darnley, possibly the lover of Mary Queen of, Marquis of Carnarvon, Robert Raymond, John Keith, Earl of Kintore. There's the Earls of Morton that were the butchers in the wars. They are the Batman for Winston Churchill in World War II, and the same man was the Batman for Butcher Haig, and his name, Butcher, is quite appropriate. Yeah, there's the Cranstons, 6th Lord Alistair in Hawick, William Byron, yeah, oh, the poets too, Marquis of Carnarvon, Earl Ferrers, Cadwallader Blaney, Duke of Beaufort, Lord Petrie of Hibbs, yeah, and Longshanks's greatest ally in stealing Scotland, Duke of Manchester, Duke of Cumberland. That is blind Prince George's bloodline, and his his son was the butcher in the battles at Culloden. Yeah, there's the Prince of Wales, 1792 to 1812, 3 years before the Rothschilds stole the Bank of England. 1790 to 1812, Francis Rawdon Hastings. See also History of Freemasonry. You cannot do that because they are secret societies, like the political movements that have been launched into the massive mafia up that is global government. Okay, so there is the union with the ancients. So experienced a thaw in the 1790s, and that is John Murray, 4th Duke of Atholl. And that's Blair Athol and the massive massacre scenes for the Episcopalians against the Church of Scotland. It's absolutely ludicrous, and all of it. So Grand Secretary Heseltine continued to provincial lodges, assuring them that Royal Archmasonry had no part in regular masonry. That is the Rothschild archers again. Yeah, that is the Royal Archers from the oldest racecourse and golf course in Scotland, that is Musselburgh. That is the launch from Musselburgh as a bodyguard for the King or Queen of England. All of it is treasonous right through the history of all of the afflicted countries which are governed by the fascists, yeah, from the south. Right then, and there's Hogarth's Night. The new Grand Lodge was evidently not immediately attractive to older St John's or Independent Lodge, that is Santiago, on the top of the bloodline tree for Alexander the Great of Macedonia. St John, and that had to be renamed in Kelso because of my research, and it became Kelso North. Right then, let's see what else is happening at the BBC. Remember, it's radio.
Sometimes you can feel a little bit distant, but I remember in Guernsey.
Yeah, lovely Habsburg chin. And a colleague, ever since, even when I was living in New Zealand, of John Humphreys. Every morning I used to loyally listen, and I now understand that the whole of them are a crock of shit for the Piso family and the successors of that are the Bullingdon boys that are now the Prime Ministers. Yeah, let's quickly move on. Yeah, she's got, yeah, the Bruce Forsyth and the facilities that the Habsburg kings had. Yeah, there's her massive dimples and the jaw, and when they get married again and again and again to the same relatives, that is when those traits become lethal, and all of them die young. But she's now, she was born 66, and oh, you can do the arithmetic. Let's keep going. There's Radio City West, Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles, the holy city, and that is the Burbank Studios for the sound alike from those German commentators that were talking about Hitler and his lovers being suicidal. Yeah, and that is the launch of all those movies and cartoons that were made by the man that is Jesus's, God's favourite human on this earth, that is Steve Jobs. He died in his 40s, I think. Yeah, and that is Job in the Bible. Yeah, it's quite dangerous to take the piss out of the gods that created us. Yeah, God is not great, and he was gone in a couple of months. And Sally Magnuson actually commentates on things like that at the Borders Book Festival in Melrose. Right then. And this is what they do on radio still. This is Lord Haw Haw during the war. I will not let you see it. Or maybe it would help if I showed you him first. So he was trained by Oswald Mosely in Newcastle, just down below the Amfreville territory. Yeah, that he is the friends of the Mitford sisters, and he was married to one, and they were chucked in jail after it was obvious that Germany were going to lose the war. He was the propagandist for the Germans. There is Adolf up there again. And this is quite humorous, even although it killed 45 million people. And that could just be the joke that it ended in 45.
Germany calling the British Isles. And what Germany isn't calling the British Isles is nobody's business.
So that
It is Lord Haw Haw, spelled with a hyphen. Hamburg, Gießen, and DJA. Hello, you bounders. Here is the news, the nasty news. Food is
So that is the sun god Ra's rays. That is the Freemasonic icon for 3,000 years. That is another 1,000 beyond Alexander the Great of Macedonia. Yeah, and this is the happening in England, and that is Ford and Etal, where the families are now the baronets, and they are called the same as Lord Haw Haw. They are called Joycey. And they have families that were concubines, so that when George I to George IV came across from Germany, they could launch concubines onto the throne of England that were just prostitutes and their daughters. That is Dorothea Jordan of Ford and Etal. Go into the church. All of it has now been taken off the internet. None of it is left, and it will be a barren visit to the church if you go even this year. I believe I made those videos less than 9 months ago, and it's massive piss take. That is Lord Haw Haw and Joycey. He was actually an American, and it's him voicing off his humour as all of the British troops that did not volunteer, they were conscripted into those wars, run by the Rothschilds for profit all over the war. All sides are bankrupt, and that is them taking over every one of the federal banks in every nation on our globe, which ended in the Arabic countries and in the countries that were Gaddafi's, in North Africa and Cuba, and all of it is the residual banks that they now own, every bank on the globe. And there is the Pathy News, and that is the cock crowing to deny that Jesus ever lived. And you can see how humorous the capacity to tell false news is. Humphreys, you little shit.
So short in England that in order to prevent looting, it's being packed into balloons and sent up into the air, out of reach. Hungry people have been seen throwing darts at a soup balloon at Liverpool near Cornwall. In some parts of the country, scraps are actually being tossed to ravenous crowds. In other parts, frightened women are taking their food with them. Fearing government confiscation of their rations if left at home, Londoners living in the Covent Gardens are carrying them about. A nice lot of baskets they are. Thanks to our glorious blockade, there is hardly any bread.
And the Rothschilds have a meeting tonight at the Earl of Holmes Castle. They've been passing by all afternoon. Could be my last day on this earth. Yeah, they all have smart suits.
Bread in England, and the people are having to put up with toast. To sharpen appetites that don't exist, the poorer people are eating razor blades, and a light meal is often nothing more than a few bowls. The British pact with Turkey shows that you fellas can't see further than the parson's nose.
So do you get it? That's the Ataturk and the launch of World War I in the Austro-Hungarian region. Yeah? And that is the Mahdi at the bottom of the Nile, and all of it is to terrify you like Donald Trump tried to do yesterday. And that becomes Christmas dinner, and Christ never lived, and St. Peter knew that. Yeah, it's absolutely hilarious. St. Peter is another nickname for Arius Piso. Right then, let's move along to the peerage and see who married Sarah. I'm insanely jealous. And there is Carla Maria Erskine Hill Rothschild. Yeah, and there is Christian Arthur Wellesley, aka Rothschild ally in crime, that is the Duke of Wellington. Garrett Graham Wellesley and the Brookes that Hannah Mary is now married into. And there is Robert Andrew Stormouth Darling. Yeah, that's Alistair Darling of Musselburgh, where they have the bodyguards for the Queen of England. And there is Jocelyn, which is the Protestant claimants that took over, helping George I to get up onto the battlefields so that they could massacre the Catholics and anything that moved that was anything to do with Bonnie Prince Charlie and the relatives of Donald Trump. Right then, so that's Burke's peerage, and that was done in 1943. You can see how calamitous they have made the world, and that is why Donald is swearing at the terrorists that he killed yesterday, and including their children, who looked to be less than high school age. There is William Barlow, married Lucinda Volker, and there is Richard Christopher Brooke. This is the families that Sarah Montagu has married into. Sir Richard Christopher Brooke, 12th Baronet, was born on 10th July 1966. He is the son of Sir Richard David Christopher Brooke, 11th Baronet, and Carola Marion Erskine Hill. That is the Erskine families that Rothschild are already married to. And that's the Erskine Bridge suicides when I first came back from New Zealand, just to cover the Rothschilds in all their glory and war crimes. So, here is Urbach, and that is the one that was commentating on Hitler's love affairs. Karina Urbach is a German historian with a special interest in the Nazi period. Burbank. Out of the fatherland. And there is Sarah Montagu. Sarah Anne Louise Montagu, Lady Brooke, born 8th February 1966, is a British journalist, best known as one of the regular presenters of the BBC Radio 4 early morning current affairs programme. Let me show you their mugshots again in a more recent profiling. There they all are. She's no longer part of the story, because they know who's going to release what news when, and who the best informed people are. That is Justin Webb. Oh, that's only Today presenters, but that is the name of the programme for a laugh. 6 to 9 a.m. every morning, both sides of the world for me. And Robinson is on the family trees for Camilla. Shona, how are you doing? And your little sister that was prepared to be my bodyguard through troubled times. There's Mishal Hussein, could be in those terrorist lines, but luckily Donald is unaware of her. There is Martha Kearney, and there is Nick Robinson, who used to present the news of an evening. Right then, so Brooke Baronets, and we've done